welcome to your favorite show, Identities Umhlobo, where we talk about your social, economic, and political issues. The period of November and December are periods where we're talking about violence against women with the worldly known 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence. Today, I'm joined by the UN Women Boss to Zimbabwe, Delphine Serumaga. Madame Delphine, welcome to this show.
Thank you.
Madame Delphine, before we talk about 16 Days of Activism, what thrills me is to see women in leadership like you. And I think it's important for us to discuss women in leadership because I find always intersectionalities between women in leadership and ending gender-based violence and all discriminations against women. And so I would like for us to chat a little bit about your path to leadership. At what point did you discover that you wanted to be a leader, and how has been the journey for you?
So the journey to leadership, I think first of all, a lot of the time you don't realize necessarily that you're heading for leadership. It's not something you turn up and say that I want to be a leader. It's really about where your passion lies and what you want to do in life. My journey to leadership, one might say, was because it was really about dealing with issues that affect me as an African woman who lives in a country or who lives in countries where the issues are vast and needing to do something about it. So long as you have your passion, you will do right by what you want to do.
Amazing stuff that you're talking about, to say other people make you a leader. So as a young woman or as a girl who's watching you, and you're saying other people make you a leader, and maybe coming from communities which necessarily do not look at young women with the eye of them becoming a leader. How does that work out?
Well, I mean, others make you a leader for a reason, right? They make you a leader because you are expressing, or your integrity is there, your commitment to what it is that you want to do. So it's really them seeing something in you that they can trust and follow, right? So if they don't trust and follow that, then you will never be a leader. You can be as good as you want to be, but if people don't relate to what you're doing or how you're doing it, then it's really, you won't necessarily lead. People need to follow you, right? So in order to get people to follow you, you also have to behave in a certain way, you have to do things in a certain way, and also have results. You can't just think you're going to lead and not have results when you've made promises to people. You have to make promises that will lead to something, and you have to achieve those results. Otherwise, being in front of people and on top of a situation doesn't necessarily mean that you're leading. It's only when the results are there and when you continue to have followers and people who are listening to you, then you're a leader. It's really how you define leadership. Because also leading is not from the front always, remember. It's also from the back. You can encourage people to go forward, but they're listening to you and they are moving forward. So it's really a question of how you're defining leadership, and also how you yourself take the role as a leader. Once you hear or you understand people are following me, people are listening to me, what you do with that, that's really important. You don't abuse it, you don't take advantage of others around you just because they listen to you. You have to remain within a certain level of integrity to do so.
Oh, that's quite deep, I figure, and I think that that's quite another level of leadership. But what I'm also understanding from you, you're also sharing your own journey, especially with where you are, the level of leadership that you are as well. And I'm also thinking that my understanding is you're saying, as a young person or as a young girl, or as a woman or as a man who wants to get into leadership, you have to also recognize that maybe I want to do something, I want to be part of something that's important. But when you discover that and you're making these promises, for instance, it's a girl or a young woman in a community who is seeing something that needs to change, and they need to want to do it. And then they go ahead, and when they're doing it, they have to have integrity and all these things that. But thank you very much. And so how has been the journey for you? How easy is it to be a female leader, especially to arrive at the levels that you have been?
No, it's not easy necessarily. I think that it took a lot of work. I've been doing this work for 27 years now. And for
Wow.
27 years, it means I started, soon after I came out of university. And it was really, what did I want to do? Where was my passion? And I started at the very bottom, if I can put it that way. I started, actually, my very, very first job was an administrator.
Nice.
And I was administrating for the city of Toronto because I was living in Canada at the time.
Okay.
This brings me to, I left that job and I was a mother at this stage and I wanted to do something around issues of abuse. So I ended up working in a women's shelter. And my first job was in the industry was as a counselor, counseling women in an emergency shelter for women. So understanding your issue from the ground up is very important.
Wow. So understanding your issue from the ground and also sometimes beginning from the bottom. And I think it's quite a conversation that's so important in Zimbabwe right now, where a lot of young people are not prepared to start from the bottom. From your experience, I do know that we've had conversations where I know you've then gone to work across Africa. What is the attitude towards leadership or towards participating in leadership? And now from my interaction with you on this show, I'm now understanding that leadership just doesn't start from the top. You can start from the bottom. Are the young people ready to lead, especially young women?
Yes, they are. I mean, young people are very hungry.
Right.
They are very hungry to learn, to know, and then to take something forward. And I think the important thing is the consistency that young people need to maintain. Don't jump into something because you think it's sexy or something and it's the trend. You can't follow trends. You have to actually follow something that you believe in and you want to see to the very end, or at least have a vision for what it is you want to see, something where something should go. And yeah, the conversations we've had, I've told you how I was in a nice country, living nicely, had a good job, but I chose, no, I really want to address the issues of abuse on the African continent. So I moved to the African continent. So sometimes you'll go high, sometimes you have to go low again to come back high and to come back better. And I can say I've come back much better.
Wow. Conversations with Delphine Serumaga, the head of United Nations Women in Zimbabwe. We were talking about women leadership, but especially in the next segment, we're going to talk about gender-based violence against women and girls, specifically focusing on 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. You stay with us. We're going to take a break.